Hey there, welcome back. If you're a focused learner, someone who really values getting straight to the core of how we operate, how we succeed, and how we sometimes get completely in our own way, well, you are in the exact right place. Today, we're unpacking a massive, universal dilemma. It's the classic battle between taking action and, well, just worrying. We're going to figure out why we so often find ourselves literally paralyzed, stuck in this endless planning phase where we somehow mistake mental gymnastics for actual, tangible progress. So let's jump right in.
So, have you ever spent so much time thinking about something that you never actually started? Seriously, just take a second with that. It's kind of heavy, right? I mean, we all have that one project, maybe a specific goal or even a conversation we've mapped out literally 1,000 times in our heads. We do the research, we write the outlines, we weigh the pros and cons until we're absolutely blue in the face. But when we look back, weeks or sometimes even months have just vanished, and that brilliant idea, it's still just sitting there doing nothing. You see, psychologically speaking, our brains actually reward us for planning. We get this little dopamine hit just from mapping out a goal, and it tricks us into feeling like we've actually accomplished something. But the reality? We haven't moved a single inch. Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1. The overthinking trap. When thinking replaces doing.
The doing is the thing. The talking and worrying and thinking is not the thing. That's from Amy Poehler. Just let that sink in for a moment. It's stark, and it's incredibly simple. Honestly, that's something a lot of us desperately need to hear right now, because it just completely strips away all the excuses. All that talking, not the thing. The worrying, not the thing. Literally, only the doing counts. We often operate under this incredibly powerful illusion. We tell ourselves that the planning, the overthinking, the waiting around for that perfect moment, we tell ourselves that means we're actually making progress. We think, well, if I just figure out every single possible variable, there is absolutely no way I'll fail. But between you and me, that is a total fallacy. The reality is actually the complete opposite. Real progress, like actual measurable movement in your life, that only begins with action. Waiting for the stars to align perfectly, that's really just a comforting little lie we tell ourselves so we can feel safe.
Section 2. The illusion of progress. Breaking the cycle of waiting.
So, let's look at how we actually break that cycle. It boils down to simple cause and effect. You want to improve your English? You don't just go buy another grammar book to let it gather dust on a shelf. No, you start speaking. You want to become successful? You don't just sit around daydreaming about the finish line. You start learning and you start working consistently. You want to change your entire life? Well, that doesn't happen with some grand sweeping thought. You simply take the first small step. Action, action, action. The very second you start moving, the entire game changes. Which brings us to Section 3, the momentum of action. How action generates energy. And this brilliantly illustrates the core concept. Momentum is created by action. It is not created by fear. It's not created by making excuses. And it is absolutely not created by endless thinking. See, taking that very first physical step shifts our entire psychology. You instantly move from this state of static, paralyzing worry into a state of active energy. You literally can't think your way into momentum. You can't worry your way into it either. It's an engine, and it is fueled exclusively by doing. And the best part? Once you finally start that engine, the vehicle actually starts pulling you forward. Let's completely deconstruct this whole perfect time fallacy for a second by looking at the actual trajectory of success, because here is the messy, honest reality. Think about any wildly successful entrepreneur or creator you know. I guarantee you, they almost never started with some flawless master blueprint. No, they learned by doing, then inevitably by failing, then improving, and finally continuing anyway. They just navigated this really messy, uncomfortable cycle. They didn't try to avoid failure by over-planning. Instead, they embraced failure through action. And then they used all that failure as data to get better. All right, Section 4, the power of starting. Embracing imperfection. Start messy. Seriously, perfect inaction yields exactly 0 results. But imperfect action? That gives you data. It gives you experience. It gives you momentum. It absolutely does not need to be polished. That first draft, it's going to be rough. Your first attempt, it's going to be super uncoordinated. So drop the whole facade of perfection right now. Just get the raw materials out there into the real world. It is completely 100% normal to feel the fear. That fear, it just means that the outcome actually matters to you. But whatever you do, do not let that nervousness keep you sitting on the sidelines. Your hands might be shaking, your voice might crack a little bit, but you step up and you do it anyway.
And start small. You really don't have to conquer the entire mountain today. You literally just have to tie your shoes and take one single step out the front door. Just begin. Because at the end of the day, the doing is the absolutely only thing that actually matters.
You absolutely do not need everything figured out before you begin. The path is going to reveal itself as you walk it. So I've got a question for you. What is your first small step going to be? And I don't mean tomorrow. I don't mean next week when the conditions are quote-unquote perfect. I mean today, right after this explainer ends. Figure out that one tiny, messy, nervous step and go do it. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today, and I'll catch you on the next one.